Red Rooster is a popular soul food restaurant in New York City unlike any other. Run by celebrity chef Marcus Samuelsson, Red Rooster has a menu of classic, comforting dishes like fried chicken and banana pudding, but with some interesting twists. Simply put, I had to find out for myself if Red Rooster lived up to the hype. It's a beautiful day today here in New York City. Right now I'm at the northern end of Central Park, right below Harlem, and it is stunning out. It's a veritable winter wonderland. Besides enjoying some beautiful scenery, I had a great lunch at a very well-known Harlem restaurant. I went to Red Rooster. Red Rooster is the product of a pretty well-known chef. In fact, you could say he's a celebrity chef from his appearances on the Food Network. I'm talking about Marcus Samuelsson. Now, Chef Samuelsson probably has one of the most unique backgrounds out there. He was born in Ethiopia, then he was adopted and grew up in Sweden. Then he traveled all around Europe learning how to be a chef, and then he came to the US. With all those different experiences and perspectives, it translated into a very unique cooking style. You can see it across Chef Samuelsson's array of restaurants. There's influences from Ethiopia, Sweden, America, the rest of Europe. It's very interesting. You can see it in Red Rooster, which may be termed as a soul food restaurant or a Southern American cuisine type of place, but it's one that's uniquely Marcus Samuelsson's. Now, I've been wanting to go to Red Rooster for a while, but I figured this week would be a good week because it is currently Restaurant Week. For those who don't know, Restaurant Week is a special time of the year when restaurants offer prix-fixe menus meant to provide a bit of value to consumers in a typically downtime for restaurants. So I figured I would go to Red Rooster during Restaurant Week and save a bit of money. Now, with that being said, this was my experience at the Red Rooster. Red Rooster is located in Harlem, right off of 125th Street. The restaurant was established in 2010 and is the product of celebrity chef Marcus Samuelsson. For Samuelsson, however, the road to opening Red Rooster was a long one, but a fascinating story nevertheless, which he recounts in his memoir titled Yes Chef. Now, that was a book which I certainly enjoyed reading and would recommend. It was when Samuelsson took the helm of the now 2 Michelin-starred Aqua V in 1995 that he began to make his mark. He transformed Aqua V into one of the city's premier fine dining restaurants and earned 3 stars from the New York Times at only 24 years old, making him the youngest ever to receive a 3-star review from the paper at the time. Samuelsson also became a fixture on TV, appearing on a number of Food Network shows as well as Top Chef Masters, which he ultimately won. It was in 2010 that Marcus opened the Red Rooster, which gets its name from a legendary but shuttered Harlem establishment which attracted the likes of Willie Mays and James Baldwin. The Red Rooster proved to be a success and just celebrated their 15-year anniversary. I was no doubt excited for my lunch and arrived to the restaurant right when it opened at 12 p.m. After I was seated, I took in the space. The Red Rooster is a large establishment with a bar up front and a spacious dining room in the back. The walls are well decorated and the restaurant as a whole has a warm and comforting feel. There's also a small stage in the bar area. During dinner and on weekends, the Red Rooster hosts a variety of live music. As a whole, I certainly appreciated the look and feel of the Red Rooster. Once I was settled, I began to look through the various menus. The Red Rooster features a variety of soul food and Southern American classics, but with some unique twists that could only come from someone like Marcus Samuelsson. For instance, Chef Samuelsson's Swedish heritage is on display with one of the restaurant's lunch specials, which is a dish called Helga's Meatballs, which are basically Swedish meatballs. As a whole, I liked Red Rooster's menu. There were a number of appetizing dishes that I would have loved to have tried. That day, however, I was more so interested in the Restaurant Week menu, which included one's choice of 2 courses for $30, which is a pretty good deal. In fact, Red Rooster basically offers the same prix-fixe selection when it isn't Restaurant Week for just $2 more. Next, I explored the beverage selection, which featured a good variety of cocktails along with wine and beer. I ended up choosing the Rooster Lotta cocktail, which contained overproofed Jamaican rum, pineapple juice, Coco Lopez, and lime juice. Visually, that was an exciting looking drink. I loved the glass that it was presented in, and I couldn't wait to give it a go. That cocktail was on the mark. I really enjoyed it. It was strong in terms of its alcohol content, and flavor-wise, it was well balanced and not too sweet. The tropical nature of the beverage even briefly transported me outside of the frozen tundra of New York City to someplace warmer and more pleasant. Overall, that was a fine drink. First up, in terms of food, was the cornbread, which I ordered separately from the Restaurant Week menu. The dish also included a roasted tomato and corn butter on the side. Before I paired the bread with the butter, however, I wanted to try it separately. Now that was some solid cornbread. The flavor was on the mark. Texturally, the bread was thick and dense, but not overly so. It definitely had a crumble to it as well, and it was easy to break off pieces, making it good for sharing. I do think, however, it could have been a touch more moist. It wasn't dry, but ideally, I would have liked it to be just a little more moist. In terms of the tomato and corn butter, I found that it paired nicely. The butter's sweet and savory flavor was a good complement, although I do feel like the butter could have been a bit smoother. In addition to the cornbread was my appetizer, which arrived to the table at the same time. It was the sweet potato coconut soup with roasted mushrooms, ginger, and a biscuit crumble. First, I tried just the broth, which was on point in both flavor and texture. The sweet potato flavor was nice and comforting while not being overly sweet. The soup's velvety consistency was right on the money, but the dish's other components provided some nice textural variety as well. I particularly liked the biscuit crumble, which further contributed to the comforting nature of the course. Plus, I found that the cornbread paired nicely with the soup as well. Overall, between my appetizer and bread, that was a solid start to the meal, but soon enough I was presented with the main course. I got the Yardbird chicken, which consisted of 2 pieces of fried chicken, garlic mashed potatoes, and collard greens along with gravy on the side. Now, I could have gotten white meat for an extra charge, but that leg and thigh worked for me. Visually, the chicken looked just okay. I wasn't a big fan of the look of the skin, which seemed to be peeling off. Evidently, that bird must have had some severe sunburn. The rest of the plate at least looked good. That was a generous portion of collards, and the mashed potatoes looked delicious, but I had to try that chicken first, so I started with the leg. Now that was a good piece of chicken. Thankfully, I found that it tasted better than it looked. It was also pretty hot temperature-wise, so I had to hold that leg a bit gingerly. The meat was tasty and moist, but I also felt that it could have been a bit juicier. Now, it wasn't dry, but I still think it could have been a bit more moist. Even though I wish there was more skin on the meat, I love the skin that was there. It had such an interesting and flavorful glaze on it. It was both sweet and savory. For me, that was the best part of the chicken. It's a shame, however, that some of the skin just simply didn't blanket all of the meat, which goes for both the thigh and the leg. The thigh shared all of the same attributes of the leg, and I enjoyed it just as much. Overall, that was good fried chicken, but I don't think it was quite top tier fried chicken. Out of 10, I would give that bird a 7.8, but I could easily see the score being higher if some of those issues were corrected. Perhaps I was just a bit unlucky that day. Besides the chicken, I was really enjoying the 2 sides on the plate. I first tried the garlic mashed potatoes, which were delicious. The flavor was wonderful, and texturally, they went down easy. I also poured a bit of the gravy on the potatoes, which added even more pleasant richness. Plus, I found that the gravy went very well with the chicken. Also on the plate were the collard greens, which were a delight to eat as well. They were nice and tender, and they were cooked perfectly. Plus, that wasn't exactly the healthiest lunch, so it was kind of nice to have something green. Overall, that really was a satisfying plate of food. Now at first, I was a bit concerned that it wouldn't fill me up. It was only 2 pieces of chicken after all. When I usually order fried chicken, it comes in a bucket. Thankfully, that turned out to be a good-sized portion. Plus, combined with my appetizer and cornbread, I was getting pretty full, but I of course finished it and still had some room for dessert. The Red Rooster has a simple dessert menu with a few classic options, but with some modern spins to them. I decided to go with the banana pudding. It was a sizable dessert indeed, consisting of pastry cream, vanilla whipped cream, caramelized bananas, and Biscoff cookies.
Now that was a tasty treat. The banana flavor was nice. It was creamy and well balanced. It had all the traits of a textbook banana pudding. Although I felt that some of the flavors could have been just a bit stronger. Nevertheless, that was a nice dessert and a filling dessert indeed. Frankly, I was struggling to finish it. In hindsight, I probably didn't have to get that cornbread earlier in my lunch, but still, I crushed that banana pudding. After finishing, it was time for the bill, which totaled to $78.39, but with my tip, I spent almost 93 bucks. Overall, I really had a great time at the Red Rooster.
So that was a very satisfying meal and a very filling meal. I was absolutely stuffed after that lunch. In fact, it took me a while to walk here to Central Park because I had to regain my composure. There was a lot that I liked about the restaurant, from the food to the service to the atmosphere. It really just ticked all the boxes for me. Now that was some fine fried chicken. Now I don't think it's the best in New York City, but it is great fried chicken nevertheless, and it is fried chicken that is definitely worth ordering. Although there are many courses on that menu that I would have loved to have tried, but when I see fried chicken on a menu, it's kind of one of those things that I just gotta order. Yeah, fried chicken is truly one of the great joys of life. Anyways, I also thought that the restaurant provided some pretty good value. I mean, I got a ton of food, a drink, and paid tax and tip, and still spent under 100 bucks. Of course, it was by no means a cheap meal, but for New York City at a popular restaurant with a celebrity chef, that's a pretty good deal. To sum it up, I had a very enjoyable meal at the Red Rooster. I think it's a must visit. Now, there are many restaurants in Harlem that are worth visiting, but I think the Red Rooster is certainly one of them. I will definitely return to the Red Rooster in the future, but for now, I have got to get some coffee. It is freezing out.